Guys, we're back with our hour-long edition of The Screen Team, and I'm excited about this next review because not only are we getting ready to review the brand new Star Trek film called Star Trek Beyond, I'm here to introduce our brand new member of The Screen Team, Guy. Guy, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Chris, and I'm so happy to finally be able to be a part of The Screen Team and sit and talk about the thing I love most in the world, which is movies.
Yeah.
So, and especially Star Trek, as you can obviously tell.
Now, for those on the radio, you can't see what Guy's wearing, but if you're watching our video, you definitely can. Guy, what exactly are you wearing for the people at home?
This is what's known as the Wrath of Khan uniform.
Nice.
This is what was worn in the original series movies from Star Trek 2 through 6, and anytime you saw any of the original cast on Generations, or when they did flashback episodes in Next Generation, DS9, and Voyager, this is the uniform they would always wear.
It looks good on you.
Well, thank you. It's
good.
actually custom tailored. So it should.
I went to my tailor. Look good. You know?
But also, a little tidbit, they actually do show a picture of the original Star Trek cast in Star Trek Beyond wearing this uniform. So
really?
Yeah, just
we'll get into that in a second.
Light homage.
I'm kind of interested in that. Before we get into Star Trek, tell us about your movies. You say you love movies. You love talking about them. What kind of movies do you like, man?
I'm actually a fan of all genres. One of my favorites is horror. I love horror and sci-fi. But I pretty much, when people ask me my favorite movie, it's depending upon genre, will tell you what movie it is. If it's historical drama with elements of fiction in there, things like Braveheart or Ben-Hur, things like that. If it's more of just character study pieces, things like Scent of a Woman. If it's romantic comedies, things like When Harry Met Sally or Paris.
You got the whole gamut going on.
Yeah, and as far as classics, I love Citizen Kane. The original Haunting, the Robert K. Weiss 1945 version. I'm a big fan. I love classics as well. So I literally run the gambit. I've got an entire DVD collection of nothing but Charlie Chaplin. So I can even go back to the silent days.
I love it, man. Let's explore all of it. Before we get into all those, we're going to explore in the future. Let's talk about the Beyond. Star Trek Beyond is the third one in the series, right after Star Trek Into Darkness, correct? So where is the crew after we leave them into the last one?
Well, surprisingly, Carol Marcus, the eye candy from the second one, is nowhere to be found in this one. Which I think there might be a continuity thing that gets that going into, but that's for real deep-seated Trekkies to debate. It's not said anywhere. They're actually towards the end of their first 5-year run.
Okay.
They're about 3.5 years in, which is a good tip of the nod to the original series, because that's when the original series was canceled. It was about 3.5 years into the 5-year mission.
Yeah.
They're approaching a new star base called Yorktown, which is essentially a giant floating planet of a star base. Newest ships are being built. Things are going on. Spock is considering leaving Starfleet. Kirk is considering either leaving Starfleet or taking a promotion to get off captaincy, so he's no longer part of the bridge. And this one's more about choices that go beyond, no pun intended, the current situations. They're in the moment, but they keep thinking that they're going to have to make these massive choices to go beyond, rather than staying with what they've got and going in that direction as to how it unfolds. So they end up meeting some interesting new aliens. Never seen these before. They're new introductions into the Star Trek mythos, which makes me exceedingly happy.
So you're all for new aliens and stuff, then, right?
I am. I'm a huge fan of the original aliens, the Romulans, the Klingons, the Vulcans, Cardassians, Ferengi, all those. A big Klingon fan. I actually read, write, and speak fluent Klingon. So
giddy up, man.
Big Klingon fan. However, when you're bringing in new aliens, I like it if it gives an idea of who they are or where they come from, and it kind of does. It kind of explores what it is beyond this nebula barrier that hasn't been charted yet. They're at the final bit of uncharted space, and they're pushing forward. And as the trailer said, this is where the frontier pushes back. So they're encountering these new hostiles with technology they've never encountered before.
Oh, that's cool.
And thoughts of what the Federation means towards these aliens versus what they feel their contribution is, and how they feel if the Federation's encroaching on them in a aggressive way as opposed to a peaceful way, as their original charter is, which is to be explorers, not a military arm.
Right.
So
let's talk about some of the new characters. I believe the new villain is played by Idris Elba. Is that correct?
Yes, Idris Elba is playing the new villain, and he is very fantastic. But I'm of the camp of Idris Elba as he is the supporting actor. He is the bridesmaid, never the bride, and he needs to be the bride at some point.
I agree, man. He's awesome.
He is such a fantastic actor, and he does so good in every tiny part that he's in that if you give him a really big role, he will not only shine, he will surpass everybody's expectations. I don't know what is holding him back from that. Maybe he's not being offered the roles or what. I don't know. But yes, this is one of those ones where even under 8-9 pounds of silicone and latex, he's able to emote and really draw out the passion for an audience member. Because I went in there, spoiler alert, I went in there very jaded.
Why?
Well, there is a tradition in the Star Trek universe. Every other film is always crap.
Like the evens are good and the odds are bad? Is that what you're referring to?
Starting with Star Trek, the slow motion picture.
Yeah.
Star Trek Wrath of Khan is far and away considered one of the greatest of all time. I'm right there with them.
Yeah.
Star Trek 3 was kind of flawed and clunky. Star Trek 4 was a great environmental message. Star Trek 5 was Shatner stroking his own ego. Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, was almost Shakespearean in its poetry. Generations was kind of floppy. First Contact was really good. Nemesis kind of sucked, and Insurrection which came before Nemesis, just tanked like crap.
Yeah.
So then you had the reboot, which was kind of lukewarm in its reception. It really divided the fan base, and I'm of the mindset I loved the way that it worked. If you're gonna do what the series Enterprise was doing, which is trying to retcon everything, this is the way you do it. You have to create an alternate timeline of what was. That way you don't go in with preconceived notions.
Of course.
So I thought that was really good. Into Darkness had this... It was an homage to Wrath of Khan, but it was bordering on the ripoff.
Yeah.
It was too much of an homage. And then you had Khan's Magic Blood, which thank God this movie forgot about, because... why would you have any problems doing anything? Khan gave his blood, and it can revive the dead, and whatever. So I was going in thinking, well, maybe this is going to be the crap one, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Well, great.
So it really did help bring and draw me in as an audience member, as a casual fan, and as a diehard in the wool Trekkie. It really brought everything that me personally I wanted in a Star Trek film.
All right, so let me ask you this, and this might be a hard question for you to answer. For those out there who are listening, maybe they're not as big as Star Trek fans as you are. Are they going to be entertained by this film?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There is plenty of edge-of-your-seat action. There's a lot of comedy that I actually found myself a couple times laughing out loud in the theater with some of it. And that has to do with the fact that it was co-written by Simon Pegg.
Yeah, he's funny.
Who is one of the funniest. I think Shaun of the Dead is one of the funniest satirical spoofs of all time. So having that kind of wit behind it. Now, of course, granted, he gave Scotty the best lines. But,
well, that's what you got to do.
But, you know, if you're writing, you kind of have that little... you kind of have that little leeway. But yeah, even the casual fan is going to go in there and be thoroughly entertained from start to finish. You're not going to have a dull moment. It actually, even the slower parts where it's more introspective and character driven, which is the hallmark of Star Trek, you don't find yourself looking at your watch. You're kind of fidgeting in your seat. You find yourself engaged because the dialogue is really crisp and the interaction, and you can tell that these people really, really love each other. And this was, I'm sad to say, a shining film in certain areas for Anton Yeltsin, which tragically lost his life, so we no longer have Chekhov. But
so really quickly, JJ says he's not going to recast him. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. You can write Chekhov going off on another ship. You can give any number of reasons you don't want to recast him, because in the new, just like you would never recast Walter Koenig in the original series, the reboot, you would never recast Anton Yeltsin. He is Pavel Chekhov. He is exactly who that character needed to be.
All right, one last question before we move on to our next review for this evening. They've already said that fourth one is in the works, and I don't know how they're going to do this, but they said Kirk's father is going to be in this one. Are you excited on that possibility?
Oh, absolutely. Seeing Chris Hemsworth return as George Kirk, I'm all kinds of excited about that. I don't know how they're going to do this. The moment it got announced, every single fan theory forum that I am a member of has blown up trying to figure out how they're going to do this. And like all fan theories, I take it with a grain of salt, but it's probably going to end up being nothing that we come up with. But I've heard some really good theories, one being that they're talking about possibly doing almost an Edge of Forever from the original series. It's a time window that you can see various points in time, something along those lines, where you're going to come across Chris Pine seeing Chris Hemsworth. So you're going to see Jim Kirk and George Kirk interacting. But the also other rumor mill that's coming down the pike, I'm not too sure about, is that they're trying to cast Reginald Kirk, which is George's father, which is Jim's grandfather.
Oh, wow.
And if they do that, the person that they're talking about tapping is William Shatner. I think it's mainly because Bill Shatner is kind of like, you know what? Even when he's dead, Leonard Nimoy gets a cameo in these movies. Why can't I?
True that, man.
That might be the case. I don't know. But I do know if they decide to do that, I would be fine with that as well, because showing the lineage would work. Showing the alternate timeline would work, depending upon how you play it. And that's the big question, is how you play it. It's going to have to come down to the writing. And if the writing is crisp and the writing is really above and beyond the pale, and it's not just, hey, it's a cash grab, which everyone feared this one was going to be. Even me, because the first trailer made it look like the Fast and Furious in space, and I was so underwhelmed and almost disappointed. It almost hurt my feelings. But they came back and said that's not what this is. You know, it was edited wrong, whatever. If it's written really good, it could survive. However, it may suffer the alternate curse.
That's right.
Of it being one that kind of, because Into Darkness was a little lackluster, it may go down that road too and be kind of, well, here we go again. Every other film is going to be crap.
We'll just have to wait and see what happens, man.
Yep.
New movie's called Star Trek Beyond. He's Guy. I'm Chris. We're going to be back with another segment. We're going to have Stacy in the studio next. We'll be reviewing the movie Summer School, and it's going to be our 850th review. It's coming your way next on KWOC.